welcome everybody, and obviously, we'll maybe how we'll play this out is I'll introduce everybody, and you'll see what roles they play. And some of the media's here. This is being videoed, so it'll be reposted on our YouTube and Facebook live page. And so, with that, obviously, welcome, Senator, and we'll do the introductions, and I'll invite you to kind of share. You and Katie can kind of share whatever you think head off. Then we will go through our legislative agenda that has about 6 or 7 specific items that are federal related, and then there's some stuff. So you got a copy of that. So we'll kind of go through that, and I'll kind of start here at the end of the table. Tanya is she's the assistant county manager in charge of communications, if I got that right, pretty much. Lynn Packard is our acting public works director. So road stuff, we may be leaning on Lynn to chime in.
Sure.
On how many cubic feet it takes to build a ramp or something. I don't know. Anyway, Lindsay Poe-Rousseau is our CFO, and she's really good with our. We've got AAA rating in this in our county government, and we're proud of that and want to keep it that way. And Lindsay's a big part of that. And Rusty Leeds is another assistant manager over a lot of things. Public safety. There you go. Tom Stoltz, you know Tom is our county manager.
Of course.
So with that, then I'll let my fellow commissioners introduce themselves. Go ahead.
Yeah, good morning. Thanks for being here. Ryan Beatty, District 4, which is a big part of downtown Wichita, all the way up to the county border north. Woodlawn, Oliver and Woodlawn to the east, and 119th Street to the west.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Marshall, for being here. It's great to have you. I'm Jim Howell. I have the 5th district of Sedgwick County, which is the southeast portion of the county. Includes Derby and Mulvane, and of course, southeast Wichita, McConnell Air Force Base. We have some. I have the highest density of population of the 5 commissioners, so it's a unique issues out that way. And one of the first items on our list today is going to be ART 95. That's in my district that connects my district to district number 2. But again, thank you for being here today.
Senator Marshall, welcome. Katie, always good to see you. Thank you for being here. I'm David Dennis. I'm from District 3, which is the entire western half of Sedgwick County. It's western side is pretty rural, and so I do have a part of Wichita, but it takes a lot of people in order to be able to we got more cattle sometimes than we do people out west. But
That's my line. That's my line. Okay, I got more in a state where there's more cattle than people. You need somebody on the ag committee. That's my line. Okay.
Welcome.
Thank you, David.
Good morning, Senator Katie. Thank you both for being here. My name is Sarah Lopez. I represent the 2nd district, which is southwest part of the county. I have some rural area, but a lot of urban as well. So Hayesville and Clearwater are the smaller towns in my area that I represent. And just happy to have you both here to hear what we're doing in Sedgwick County.
You bet.
Thank you.
And as you know, Commissioner Lopez has been hogging all of the media the last month or so. And
Deservedly so.
there
There
are parts of us. And also welcome all of our friends in the media, emphasize friends. And then again, Roger, great to see you. I mean, Senator, and always good. Appreciate our friendship, and thank you for taking time to be here. And we all represent 5 districts, and what district I'm in is kind of north of Kellogg, and everything east touches some downtown is there as well. So that's us. And with that,
Thanks.
I'll invite you to do and say whatever you want to introduce, and we get into it.
Well, thanks everybody. Appreciate being here. Katie Sawyer is my state director. She is where the rubber meets the road, knows the state inside and out, knows more about these topics that we're going to be discussing today. But do appreciate the chance. The word for today is jobs and people for the jobs that we have. That's why I'm in Wichita, Sedgwick County today, is to help solve this crisis we have for people. I just left JR Metals, and they employ 150 people, but they have 40 openings, and that's not unique to them. We have someone like Integra trying to expand. Where are those people going to come from? So I'm trying to be here part of the solution. Sarah, congratulations on the babies.
I'm just doing my part. Make sure we have the workforce.
There you the workforce development. You're doing that. I usually tell people with twins that Marshall is a good name. I delivered, I don't know, over 100, 200 sets of twins in my career, but no one wants to name their child Roger, but Marshall's a good first name, but it's too late, I assume. David, we appreciate you helping us out with our academies appointments as well, and friendship with everybody here. Certainly here to listen today. I'm sure there's infrastructure projects to talk about wherever we can help the federal government interact with local governments. That's where the rubber meets the road. So I think I'm just going to stop there. Certainly, I know your community. Goodness gracious. I grew up in El Dorado, raised 4 kids in Great Bend. We would come here 3 or 4 times a year for ball games as well, and made a big effort. We were at McConnell Air Force Base just about a month ago, looking at their intelligence squadron out there, and we'll continue to make the circuit around the town. So I'm all yours, Pete.
Okay, thank you. And you make a good point, Senator. We we're well aware of the workforce challenge, housing on top of that for trying to keep our people here, grow our people here. We all serve on various boards, and that seems to be, well, the state of mental health is a priority issue, but we do know that the workforce that you're addressing is incredible.
And a job is a solution.
Right.
People with mental health problems, having a job, having a spiritual component is part of that component as well. And by the way, the Wichita Housing folks were in my office in D.C. yesterday. So
They were, yeah.
Explain to me just what the number of job starts here, half of what they were at peak, or it's a significant drop.
Yeah, we think we've had a series of meetings with people interested in growing their business or coming to the Wichita area, and a common theme that I think we're a little bit ahead of a lot of communities is we're kind of a team where we realize when government and business and education are all prioritizing the same way, it's way easier to get things done, be it WSU Tech or Wichita State or Friends, but the business community is all in. And I think the governments locally agree that maybe they can lead, and what role do we play as government? It seems to be a model that's working. Obviously, we've got growth and we've got a lot of attention. So thank you for bringing that up. And so any other statements before we get started? Okay. You all have anything to offer first? Okay. All right. Well, you've got it in front of you. First, let me thank you for the Cowskins Creek, the BRIC grant letter of support. Thank you very much for that. And
what would that project do?
Go ahead.
Thank you.
Commissioner David.
Mainly in my district, and a little piece of it is down in Commissioner Lopez's district. But in 1998, we had what we call the Halloween flood. And we had hundreds of homes that were flooded because the Dry Creek broke over into North Fork of the Catskill and came right down through West Wichita. My house, for example, was an island. Luckily, I was a little higher. I just moved into it about 2 months before that. Mm-hmm. But everything around me was flooded. And ever since then, we've been trying to figure out a way to stop that flooding, because it's going to happen again, no matter what. Actually, a year later, in '99, we had a second flood. So far, we haven't had a third in recent. But what the BRIC grant is asking for is $40 million from the federal government. But part of that, we'd have to match it to 25%. So Sedgwick County and Wichita would split the other $10 million. And it puts a dry retention pond out by 167th to 13,000 in western Sedgwick County. And what that does is that when the Dry Creek floods over into the North Fork of the Catskill, we'll just hold that water, and then we'll let it out later on when all of the rest of the water goes back down, so that we don't flood all of those. It removes over 600 acres from the floodplain, so we can actually develop that now because It's all floodplain, and it protects hundreds of homes. So that's why we're so passionate about the BRIC grant that we're put in for it. This is the third year that we put in for it. The first year, we weren't too high on the list and there wasn't too much money. The second year, but we did get debriefed, And the second year, we were a little smarter, and we put in a better application.
Right.
We moved up in the list, but the money didn't come down to us. This year, there's even more money, about twice as much money available for the BRIC grant, and I think we're a lot smarter. So with your help, I hope that we can get the $40 million to be able to stop the flooding in West Wichita.
Well, we're excited to support that, and I'll give you a couple reasons why I think it's a good project. Is that a Corps project, Corps of Engineer project, or FEMA project?
FEMA, and it's on page 6 of your.
Okay. So what I like about it is, so often what I see communities do is say, let's just build the dikes higher, taller, and sure enough, a bigger velocity of water comes down and wipes out the next dike. So I love the fact that you're trying to work with nature. I'm a big friend of the environment. I think there's an environmental opportunity here as well, that probably will be very good wildlife habitat. Maybe a place that some ducks can stop at in the spring as they travel from Texas on their way back home to North Dakota as well. So I think it's a great idea, and probably more economical than just building more dikes as well. So appreciate the thought process of trying to be economically friendly as well as environmentally friendly as well. So congratulations. I bet we'll get it done. I bet. I don't know this year, but I bet, like you said, it's on its way up.
Thanks, sir.
Well, that reminds me also, we also have a federal lobbyist, Jim Richardson, that I think you're familiar with.
Of course.
He does a really good job for us and for the city. His connection obviously is good with the staff, but he seems to know how to walk the halls of the departments, and then can help when need be. And so
That's great.
and he's really
Good
good with
investment.
us. If he doesn't know a department, he'll tell us. But if he does, he works that to help get the feel and navigate through the.
They each have their own culture, no doubt.
Yeah, right. And so anyway, so that's very helpful. So again, if we go to we'll just go kind of in order. The first page is the Ark River, the Ark 95 is what we call it. That's that big highway project that connects Derby down the south. It's a highway project. And I'll let Commissioner Howe kind of explain. He's been involved in that.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. So Arc 95 has been talked about since long before I was a commissioner, and I think it's probably 15, maybe 20-year discussion at this point. But this is intended to basically provide us. We used to think of this as this kind of a south loop. The entire project would go from Kellogg down Greenwich, and then at 95th Street turn and go west to Meridian, and Meridian back to Kellogg as a south loop. But to break that down to smaller projects, the first project would be getting us a bridge over the river at 95th Street South, and it would also provide access over the train traffic. And the train traffic, again, we appreciate the trains. We know that it's important for infrastructure of the entire country to see those supply chains move the way they do. But those trains have gotten extremely long, 2-3 miles long sometimes. And the frequencies used to be 35 trains a day. Now it's getting to about 65 trains a day.
Right.
So there's no place to cross the trains any place south of Kellogg, actually. And so there's a lot of traffic on K-15 and Rock Road, and people from the south end of the county. They just want to get to the turnpike. I want to get to I-235 or whatever. We think there's a better path, and so to connect K-15, primarily K-15 going west over to Meridian or Broadway, is a first big part of that project. And again, we talked about this for a long, long time. We've had community-based studies. We've got artist renderings. The community's on board. Derby, Hayesville, and Mulvane have all been putting money towards right-of-way purchases. This is on the Transportation Coalition master plan. WAMPO's identified this as a major project. KDOT thinks this is a great project. So we have all the buy-in of the state that we need to move this forward. What we don't have is money. And the next big step to get this done, I think, is to actually get the engineering. And of course, Lynn, you might clarify this a little bit, but get the engineering in place where we can actually have a shovel-ready project. And we need some money to get to that next point. And so, what we're asking for the feds to do is to help us out with that. We'd be glad to participate, but we feel like this project needs to move forward, and we don't want to see it. Put down below other projects. We think it's a priority to Sedgwick County. Certainly, the traffic on K-15 has We have some challenges right there. We have, we're basically, in my personal opinion, we're at capacity. So we need some relief. And we're asking for some help. So Lynn, you might want to clarify what I said.
Thank you. I think you made a really good overview of the project. The biggest issue we have down in the southeast portion is access over the river without having been impeded by the train traffic. Everything goes through an at-grade intersection right now. This would actually be the first separated grade that would allow access. There would be a KTA, potential for a KTA interchange as well with 95th Street. So in addition to creating that access point there, it's going to make that portion of the county much more developable than it is now. You're going to have that direct access, unimpeded access to the KTA between Derby and Hayesville, Mulvane. The community down there as a whole is all about it. They have already in their budgets for the last 2 years with Mulvane, Hayesville, and Derby set aside money to help with planning and right-of-way acquisition. We're working with the planning department. It's been identified as a tier 1 project with the South Central Transportation Coalition. This is something that we know as a region that it needs to be done. It's overdue, and this is something that's going to really set us up well for the future.
Well, great. Certainly, your priorities are my priorities. I think that's the great thing about having a relationship. I know that if you guys are spending the time and energy to move this up on your request, then I guess I got a question for you. So, have we done any engineering studies on it so far?
We have done directly one engineering study, and there have been indirectly, there have been 4 other studies that have all encompassed that study.
So
in that
I'm
area.
kind of getting at the biggest challenges I hear are the permitting time to get it ready to shovel ready, and the money we have to spend to do that. If you had the money to do it, how long would it take you to go through the hoops to get it shovel ready on an average project like this? And what percentage of the budget is going to be dedicated not to asphalt and cement, but to prep time here?
And the prep time, and I will indicate what we are seeking with the congressionally directed spending is all of that planning, all of that prep, going and doing the NEPA process and getting the plans ready from preliminary plans all the way through construction, ready for construction. We're thinking we can get that done in a 42 to 46 month time period.
So 4 years.
Basically, yes.
4 years for a project that we know this is a priority for us. That's so frustrating to me. And time is money, and money is time, and you got to bond it, and this, that, and the other. So 4 months, and then what percentage of the budget is it going to take to do just the prep work?
Just the prep work, we're looking at about almost $8 million.
What percentage is that? Is that a third, a fourth of the project, a fifth of the project?
That would end up being, let's see, the last, for this portion of it cut out, I think we're looking at about probably 15%.
You've already got a couple million invested in it, it sounds like.
We've put a significant amount of effort into it over the years, yes, and resources.
Yeah, Senator, for instance, the Webb Road Kellogg extension, just that whole mile.
I remember that that was the COVID project from hell, right? Oh my gosh.
So that
Couldn't
now
get
that's
off to go to the hotel there. I had to go down and circle around and
So you're going to Costco and everything was fine, right?
God.
But but that's about 90 million. That was that project. So they can now. This one probably won't be quite that extensive, but that just give you and actually the first bullet on that is the 6.2 million of the next bullet, which says. Yeah, so that gives you an idea. And actually, apologies, and this is just one that Senator Moran has tried to filter into the appropriations.
Got it. We'll do everything we can to
say
win beneath his cells. So.
Right. We don't mean to say he's the only one that supports this.
I get it. He's on the appropriates committee. I'm on the ag committee.
Right.
You know, not everybody can be on the appropriates committee.
All right. And respecting your time, we will we'll continue through.
Sounds great.
So, commissioners, as we talk about it, let's respect his time. We got about 6-7 items to talk. Okay,
Yep.
So, next one is 151st Street West. That's another highway project that I believe Commissioner Dennis can address.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate it. And again, this is in my district, and you're going to hear several more that are in my district because it's a large area. And I'm glad you're on the Ag Committee because I'm going to talk about ag for this. A few years ago, built a large ethanol plant out by Colwich.
I've been out there several times.
They bring in about 200 tractor trailers a
Yep.
day full of corn. And in order to be able to take those tractor trailers in and out of there, they usually use 151st Street. And especially leaving, if they want to go west on K96, they use 151st Street. Because if you go north on 53rd, get up to K96, there's a large median in between, and a tractor trailer can shelter in between those 4 lanes. Any other direction that they go out, the lanes are so close together, they actually have to go across 4 lanes in order to come back out of there. Well, 151st, it's a county road, and we build it to kind of county road standards. It's what they call a cold mix road. It's not made to stand up under 200 tractor trailers a day. If you drive out there, I just drove on it the other day, coming back from Hutchinson. It's been beat to heck. So we have to upgrade that into what they call a hot mix road, make it a lot thicker in order to be able to carry the loads that we have moving in and out of that ethanol plant.
That's
Yeah.
good economic.
So I've been out there multiple times. I was introduced to ICM way back in my house days. Dave Vandergrind, his people do an incredible job, Jumpstart stores, and they're exporting their technology, a great business model. And there's so much more than just an ethanol plant. They're one of the top 2 or 3 ethanol technology companies in the nation. His team just does an incredible job of thinking ahead to the next level. So whatever we can do to help there.
Yeah, and you'll see just we've tried to isolate the federal portion of these obviously some of these projects are going to require our state and our local participation. Respecting, I know we're on some hard stops here in about 10 to 15 minutes, so we'll bust through this really quickly. The next one was a preparedness warehouse, EOC, Emergency Operating Center. Rusty, you got a 1-minute summary on that? Or it's $2 million congressionally directed.
So coming out of the pandemic, going into the pandemic, we, like everybody else, found that we were not prepared. And we looked to the state and the federal government to help get supplies in. Where we're at now is we want to mitigate in the future. We want to have the facilities available. We want to maintain a level of protective equipment and materials, not only for a pandemic, but for any kind of natural disaster that occurs where we need to provide supplies quickly. We have them on hand. We rotate those so they don't expire. We have a functional EOC now, but we know that in the future our emergency communications department is expanding. They're going to have to take a lot of that space. So we need to relocate our emergency operations center and have in conjunction with the warehousing space so that we're not caught short like we were when the pandemic arrived. And so we have storage space and the ability to do drive-through clinics. Again, we were hustling, the health department and emergency management were hustling throughout the pandemic to find locations that would be suitable for drive-through vaccination and testing sites. And so we're trying to mitigate and prepare for the next major disaster and or pandemic so that we have those facilities available and ready to go and we don't miss a beat. We're not 2 or 3 weeks or 6 weeks behind the curve in getting spun up because everything's already in place. So that's kind of it in a nutshell.
Right. And just as an addendum, I had some folks recently in my office that operate the 911 centers from across the state of Kansas talking about the texting technology. And as I recall, even if you would text 911, it would actually show the operator your location automatically. And it's something that sounds like certainly we want to get behind and be able to help folks get.
We have texting to 911 capabilities currently in Sedgwick County.
You guys are incredible.
Yeah, that's really good. And the 988 with the suicide, we're measuring the volume. So that's another
Thanks for
positive
leading.
step. So, yeah. And Rusty's over that group, or 911. Right before that, there was also the reconstruction a half mile of 135th, if you want to do a 1 minute or 2-minute summary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. At the top of the page, one we just kind of skipped over real
Page 2.
briefly. I won't cover it very long, but it's another economic development project. The city of Mays has put in a large industrial district between 119th and 135th Street. 119th is paved, 135th Street is not paved. And so we are wanting to pave the first half a mile of that up to the railroad tracks to give them a second entrance and exit into their industrial district. So it's economic development.
Great.
Thank you.
And then one we've had on for years is a Northwest Expressway between that kind of connects that first bullet really the support funding, but the first bullet kind of gives you one sentence. That would be a major. Our community center. You know, many cities have inner loops and outer loops, and our Wichita area, we've kind of patchworked that.
Understand.
Even the ARC 95, and it's not a continuous. It's not like Houston or
Not a
Dallas.
435 wrapped around it, or a,
Right. But this kind of helps connect that stuff. And we've been spending a lot of money every year on land acquisition and in cooperation with KDOT. So
And again, this is in my district. It's a very large district again. And
you're getting greedy here, Dennis.
it provides a path between the cities of Goddard and the city of Mays.
There it is.
In order to be able to move traffic off of Kellogg, get it over to K96, and then get the traffic gone up into the Kansas City area. So we put $1 million a year into buying right of way, and KDOT matches that. So far, we've purchased about a third of the right of way, but that's the small part of the cost. The big part of the cost is what we need, and that's to build this, and that's about $500 million.
okay, and you got a picture of the map of what that does.
Yep, I saw that.
In the back, and then another one that I think you're really familiar with is the Amtrak extension of Oak City. We've got a lot of recent, really good momentum going on. KDOT's worked closely with ODOT, Oklahoma DOT, and TxDOT has bought in, and so there's a lot of support. There is a application with FRA coming in this month, and all indications are that this one is one of the easier and most cost-effective, and maybe we don't have the lack of revenue versus costs on all these studies so far. So KDOT is taking the lead on it. So Kansas is taking the lead on it, and kind of the cool thing, it funds 80% of the capital costs, and it would also fund any shortfall for up to 6 years if there's revenue shortfall between expenses just on that extension. So I know Amtrak gets a lot of discussion off and on,
Sure.
but we think if you look at that map, this obviously helps Wichita, Sedgwick County, but this connects, this puts our state, it connects our whole state into this transportation area. And so that's,
it.
I think you've seen.
I think as we think of Integra coming to town and some of those, where are those people coming from to help us? Would they have a connection to Dallas or Houston? I bet they do.
Right.
Pete, next time you and Paul Atwater and I are sitting down and having a beer off the record, we need to go back and talk about the history of Wichita and the fight over this having a railroad head here at the beginning of the city. I've been to the Chisholm Trail Museum and tried to put some of those pieces together, but I just wonder the connections between the challenges in that era to what's going on today with Amtrak, is how Wichita got missed in this Amtrak thing. Is I bet there's history there.
Yes, there is. Be glad to have a discussion over an iced tea or something.
Yes, I forgot you don't drink beer.
Okay, but anyway, and then we talked about the Dry Creek,
Yep. Oh, good.
and the next page 7 at the top is the ARPA funding. I don't know if Lindsay, you want to comment on that. We've been very responsible on the CARES money. We've got that all balanced, signed off on that $100 million, and now we're in the middle of ARPA, which goes to the end of
Right.
24, and
I can do this very quickly, sir.
okay, go ahead, Lindsay.
So, Senator, we are very grateful for the ARPA funds we've received. Right now, what we have learned is that the state is considering us for $25 million toward a mental health hospital using its ARPA funds. And so the concern is whether we have adequate time to get that project constructed with the ARPA funds, given the current timelines. Other than that, we feel like we're in good shape on our direct allocation.
Great, and this is a common theme I'm hearing from every community in Kansas as well. Certainly a priority for us, and Katie will be continuing to work with our folks in DC, trying to see if we can accomplish that. And again, I'm just beg everybody to be as efficient with it as possible. And I'd much rather, thank you, you read my mind, you all directing the money rather than me directing the money. So thank you.
Right.
Are there any local matching monies for those types with that? Okay.
There is not for this project, no, sir.
Not on the
I bet you
state,
could
not
find
on the
some.
mental health hospital.
Correct.
And you're aware with the state, the mental health hospital is, we feel, we collectively, I mean, all those entities
Oh, it's
we've
a
talked about.
huge problem, Pete. You understate the problem.
Right.
My hospitals have patients in the ER sitting there for 2 or 3 or 4 days in a safe room, requiring a one-on-one nursing staff to babysit the person because we can't get them into a facility. The state's been derelict in its duties to address the mental health challenges we have as far as inpatient facilities. There's no magic bullet. It's expensive. And I hear you loud and clear. Even 25 beds won't touch the problem.
Well, Sheriff Easter is the third largest state mental health hospital right now. Our sheriff
That's a great.
hosting
That's a great
40
one-liner.
or 50 waiting to go.
Yeah, so they're in my hospitals, they're in the sheriff's office, and then the sheriff's officers can't do their job because they do take a lot of TLC, and I just get it. It's so frustrating, and we got to back up to the root of the problem with mental health, come back and talk about that another day as well, but
Right.
it is certainly an enigma that we can't get our arms around it. But having a job is part of the solution.
That's good. And the other stuff is just all the single bullets about continuous stuff that, again, that Jim works on, is aware of, keeps his eye on the ball. And I think with this conversation being and we can let anybody say anything, Katie, we will work with you on the timing, and if any, even drafting, if you can have some letters of support at these various areas, that will be very helpful. We are a few minutes away.
Sarah,
Sir?
no priorities, nothing else? No ask today?
Well, I'm really pushing and hoping that R25 will get that funded, because that does impact the second district as well. If you read that, all the bullets, you can see the support that City of Hayesville and Clearwater and other smaller areas on the south part of our county are a big part of wanting this done too. So it will impact all of us on the south side. Very much supportive of that, so any help we could get to get that first part finished and
Great.
moving would be amazing.
Well, great. Could wrap up?
Yeah, and I made an error. It's Jim Davenport. I keep confusing. I sent Jim Davenport is our guy.
There you go.
Topeka or in
That's good.
Washington. I get Washington and Topeka confused too.
That's good.
So, but okay. Any
So-
other closing comments?
Yeah, I would just say, if I may, many of my colleagues have been embedded in some of these issues for quite some time, and I've been here 8 weeks and just found out where the restrooms are, so I'm learning something. But I would say that we need to lean into our federal partnerships to create a visionary image of what we want to accomplish in Sedgwick County. Economic development follows infrastructure development and road development, and some of these things that we're talking about are necessary components for connecting this community, particularly some of the fastest parts of our community, the fastest growth parts: Mays, Goddard, Valley Center, Park City, Derby, Hayesville. So economic development, what we all want with sustainability and jobs and workforce development, many times that interlink is going to be road development, infrastructure development, and that's where we really need to lean in and would appreciate all the support you can provide.
I get it. So all I can say is I get it. If you first of all, you get knocked down when businesses are thinking about expanding their business, I think we'll see more expansion than new businesses. If you don't have the adequate infrastructure, why would you invest more money if you can't get more trucks into all the new biofuel program going out in Coldwich, Kansas? I absolutely get it as well. I'll just close by saying, we put an office in downtown Wichita for a reason, at the corner of Douglas and Waco. Market, Douglas and Market. Someone mentioned Waco. I'm trying to remember where Waco was earlier. In Douglas and Market, because I want my staff to live, breathe, and feel what's going on in Wichita, Kansas, and downtown Wichita. I got a good feel personally what goes on in suburban and rural America, but we need boots on the grounds here. I hope you're feeling their presence. Stop by our office. Let us buy you a cup of coffee. You can buy us a cup of coffee and sit down with my staff there, sit down with Katie. My business today is no different than being a doctor. It's all about relationships. It's the ability to listen, to interact with to lean into the federal government. We need a relationship, and we have a relationship. It's growing. Pete and I go way back. David and I have got a nice relationship, getting to know Jim and Ryan and Sarah as well, and your staff at the staff levels. But it is truly relationship building, and that way, the more confidence I have in what you're doing here, the more confidence I have of putting my name on a letter of support, that you're taking care of the tax money that's being sent from here to DC that comes back here, that we've got boots on the ground making the good decision. So I'm honored to represent you all. Thank you.
That's well stated. That's well stated. Thank you very much. And can't thank you enough, Senator. Katie, good to see you too. Okay.